Call the meeting to order. Call the roll, please.
Trustee Healy?
Here.
Trustee Milani?
Here.
Trustee Compass?
Here.
Trustee Reardon?
Here.
Trustee Radoszewski?
Here.
Mayor Peacock? Trustee Katsinas?
Here.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just like to say Mayor Peacock would have liked to have been here. He attended a family funeral and wake service out of town over the weekend. He had a flight for last evening. That was canceled. A lot of delays today, and he's in the air as we speak. So hopefully he might be able to make it in time before the end of our board meeting. But if not, you're stuck with me. Thank you.
approval of the October 18th, 2021 Committee of the Whole minutes.
Madam Chairwoman,
Trustee Compass.
I move to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of the Committee of the Whole of October 18th, 2021.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Milani.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Radoszewski.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Katsinas.
Aye.
Forest Preserve District of Cook County presentation.
Mr. Village Manager.
We're very excited to have a representative from the Forest Preserve District, Steve Silich, and he just wants to present the Forest Preserve's strategic plan.
All right. Well, thank you for having me here today. Tonight, my name is Steve Silich, and I'm the head fisheries biologist with the Forest Preserve District of Cook County. Tonight, I'm going to talk to you about the history of the preserves, all that the preserves offer the residents of Cook County and Orland Park here today, and then where we're going in the future. Some of you might have been some of the people who were able to visit the preserves during the COVID pandemic. By some accounts, the Forest Preserve saw twice as many visitors on our trails and in our preserves as usual. Some of these estimates are as high as upwards of close to 100 million visitors that the Forest Preserve saw throughout the pandemic. We were very proud to be able to keep our trails and preserves open while following public health guidelines. So it was a pretty big accomplishment we were very happy about. The Forest Preserves of Cook County exists because over 100 years ago, local visionaries saw the importance of protecting and preserving natural lands as Chicago grew so quickly. Looking at the map on the left, you notice the amount of undeveloped grasslands, forests, and basically underdeveloped land. The map on the right from 2015 shows that Cook County is one of the most densely populated counties in America, with very few undeveloped areas. If you take a look at those green shapes on the map on the right, that pretty much represents the map of the Forest Preserve District of Cook County property. So we really are the leading property holder within Cook County as far as natural areas are concerned. Today, the Forest Preserves of Cook County cover nearly 70,000 acres. That's actually 11% of the county's total holding. The Forest Preserves are in just about every part of the county, with some Forest Preserve properties even in Chicago proper, which is kind of a nice fact. We like to call ourselves Cook County's backyard. You're never too far from a preserve. The Illinois State Legislature formed the Forest Preserve District of Cook County back in 1914. While we are a separate unit of government, we are connected but distinct from Cook County, governed by the same Board of Commissioners, but our own taxing body and entity. The original mission of the Forest Preserves, which is displayed here on this slide, is still our guide today. In a nutshell, it's basically to protect and preserve public open space in its natural state for the education, pleasure, and recreation of the public. We are different from a park district, more comparable to a state park or a national park. So that's kind of the model that we live by and how we try to conduct our day-to-day operations. Thousands of types of plants and animals depend on the natural areas in the Forest Preserves of Cook County. This is a picture of a North American river otter which returned to this region after 100 years of extirpation thanks to restored healthy environments that were provided through a lot of hard work by Forest Preserve employees and volunteers. More than 100 threatened and endangered species currently live in the forest preserves of Cook County, including some very unique ones like bald eagles and osprey, which some of you may see here in Orland Park flying overhead. My office is a couple blocks away from here, and I see them almost on a daily basis. It's really fascinating to see such wonderful animals back in the preserves and in the Chicagoland area. For native species like these to thrive and survive, these natural areas have to be healthy. Cook County is the most ecologically diverse county in all of Illinois. You think outside of Cook County, it's a lot of agriculture, and it's kind of true. The Cook County is an amazing entity that has such unique habitats. The forest preserves protect these habitats, such as the ones displayed here, like the woodlands, wetlands, savanna, and prairie, which here in Orland Park we're very lucky to have. I think we do have all 4 of these pretty close to where we're standing right now, which is truly amazing considering we're in such a urban metropolis area. These lands are each their own unique ecosystem with specific plants, animals, insects, and other organisms that live together. Well, a common misconception is that nature can take care of itself. Nature in an urban area, like where we live here in Cook County and in Orland Park, does need help to remain healthy systems. Today, more than 15,000 acres are currently under restoration or active management throughout Cook County. This is more than twice as much as the forest preserves were managing less than a decade ago. This work includes everything from the removal of invasive plants and animals, planting of native seeds, and a lot of wetland restoration. This slide depicts some work. I'm not sure exactly where this is, I apologize, but in a matter of a year you can see the difference that the ecological restoration work has done to just greatly improve and beautify areas. And not just the aesthetics, the health of this ecosystem is immensely better than it was with all the invasives in that top picture. This work isn't done solely by the Forest Preserve employees, though. Restoration work is also done by the Forest Preserve's award-winning Conservation Corps programs, which includes a lot of interns. Summer and year-round intern programs mobilize over 300 participants each year to help restore these natural areas. The Forest Preserves of Cook County is very proud with some of these statistics as well, especially considering 2/3 of these participants are high school age, and over 3/4 of these participants are people of color. It really goes to show the importance of inclusion and diversity that Cook County is currently employing. Within all these great places that the Forest Preserve has, there's many ways to have a great time. Most Cook County residents live within 20 to 30-minute car ride from any Forest Preserve to explore. Like I said, we kind of pride ourselves on being Chicago and Cook County's backyard. You really are never too far from Forest Preserve property. One of the most popular activities is simple trail use on the preserves. Hiking is one of the most popular activities we have, and with over 350 miles of paved and unpaved trails, they take you through all sorts of these local terrains and different ecosystem types that you have in the area. In 2015, the Forest Preserves was proud to open 5 campgrounds distributed throughout the Cook County holdings. These campgrounds offer cabins, bunkhouses, tent camping, or even RV camping at certain locations. Knowing that a lot of city folk may never have the opportunity or never have camped, the Forest Preserve is proud to have gear libraries and offer training to certain groups in order to pick up these skills needed to not only experience but be able to teach groups on how to camp at some of the Forest Preserves and outside of Cook County. This is probably my favorite slide because this pertains to my job, but the Forest Preserve also offers over 40 managed fishing lakes for the public to take advantage of. There's also 8 public boat launches, as well as over a dozen canoe and kayak launches along the Chicago area waterways, like the Des Plaines River, Salt Creek, and other waterways in the area. The Forest Preserves have 6 nature centers distributed throughout the preserves. These are all free to visitors, which is a really nice thing that the Forest Preserve is happy to offer. These nature centers host programs throughout the year, totaling over 1,500 events and programs, including but not limited to nature hikes, evening and winter bonfire events, painting and photography and nature type classes and events, as well as even archery lessons, which is something new the Forest Preserve's offering. A lot of archery and kayaking are some of the bigger events that are going on. Among some of the crown jewels of the Forest Preserve are our closest partners, the Brookfield Zoo and Chicago Botanic Gardens. Few people realize that the zoo and gardens are actually on Forest Preserve property and that we help support these independent institutions and also partner with them on a lot of endeavors and projects. The Forest Preserves are a great place to get healthy with exercise or enjoy the mental health benefits of being outside in nature, which is a pretty important and proven medical research and fact these days. The Forest Preserves also keep the communities healthy. Our lands are the largest clean air resource in the region, and all that undeveloped land helps to keep the waters cleaner and healthier as well. The Forest Preserves also mitigate against global warming, with the preserves absorbing as much greenhouse gas annually as produced by more than 330,000 vehicles. The Forest Preserves do hold 11% of Cook County, so it's important to have these natural areas spread throughout for these environmental benefits. The environmental impacts that the Forest Preserves provide really are invaluable. All this means that even without ever stepping foot in the Forest Preserves of Cook County, the residents are benefiting from the preserves each year. If you were to add up these benefits, they've done studies, they calculate that they provide about $470 million in annual environmental impacts. This doesn't even include the benefits such as protecting the wildlife or supporting the local biodiversity. As you can see, the Forest Preserves have been working hard to provide these opportunities and land for the public. We have a deep commitment to our responsibilities to serve as stewards of the land. The Next Century for Conservation Plan was developed in 2014, which outlined the 4 tenets that the Forest Preserve wanted to follow: people, nature, economy, and leadership. This plan now frames all of our daily work by connecting people to nature through outdoor activities and programs, restoring 30,000 acres of land into good health, and making sure the preserves are transparent and good stewards of taxpayer money. Underlying all this commitment to equity and inclusion so that everyone in our diverse county knows they are welcome in the Forest Preserves. Unfortunately, we're reaching our limit on what we can accomplish. We are structurally underfunded for our mission. The amount of 1 to 2 cups of coffee a month is the cost per household today that protect these 70,000 acres of natural areas and what I've talked to you about so far. Less than 1% of Cook County property tax bill goes towards the Forest Preserve District of Cook County. Advocates for the Forest Preserves have proposed a referendum to bring in more resources for the Forest Preserves. The County Board of Commissioners has voted to put it on the ballot for the November 2022 election. So at this point of the program, as I'm wrapping up here, I would be thinking, what does this program mean to you all? And what are we asking of you? And the honest answer to that is nothing. Come visit the preserves. Be aware that we're here. We're here for you. Like I said, whether you step on the preserves or not, know that we're here providing environmental service. This is just a glimpse into what the Forest Preserves of Cook County have. Visit our interactive map on our website to find new places to go or things to do, or check out the events page to see what kind of activities are going on. If you do want to support the Forest Preserves, we'd certainly appreciate it. You can donate your time by becoming a volunteer in the local preserves. The volunteers have a variety of programs, including restoration work, trail watch volunteer, and many other opportunities. The Forest Preserve Foundation accepts donations in support of the mission of the Forest Preserves, or just become an advocate for nature. Tell your family, your friends, your children about the opportunities that are available to all Cook County residents. That's pretty much all I have for you today. I just really want to thank you for your time and for hearing me out. And if you have any questions, if we have a minute or two, I'd be more than happy to take them now.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Thank you for an excellent presentation, bringing to light what's in the Forest Preserves. I think that's very important for people to know. You drive by them and you don't realize what's there. So excellent presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
John Humphrey Drive at 143rd Street intersection, Phase 2, final design engineering services, consultant recommendation.
Madam Chairwoman,
Trustee Milani?
move to recommend awarding John Humphrey Drive at 143rd Street intersection Phase 2 final design engineering services contract to Patrick Engineering of Lisle, Illinois in an amount not to exceed $875,000, and I move to recommend allocating $350,000 for right-of-way acquisitions for the John Humphrey Drive at 143rd Street intersection project, and I move to recommend to authorize the village manager to execute all related contracts subject to village attorney review.
Second.
Khurshid?
Thank you very much. Today, we're bringing a project to move into the next phase that has been in our design stage for over 5 years. This is the intersection and bridge improvement at 143rd Street and John Humphrey Drive intersection. Just for convenience, I have the aerial photograph. This is the intersection that we're talking about. The mall is to the south of us and 143rd Street and LaGrange Road, and the triangle is to the left of us. At present, this is a 5-lane east-west 143rd Street, which is a Village of Orland Park jurisdiction, and then north-south is John Humphrey Drive, which is also a Village of Orland Park jurisdiction. The 143rd Street has 2 lanes each way with a center left turn lane, whereas John Humphrey Drive has 1 lane each way with a center left turn lane. This project was started in May of 2016, and earlier this year we finished phase 1 engineering of this project. Patrick Engineering was the consultant for this project, and Jared is here. He is the project manager from that firm, and if later on if you have any questions, then he can help us to answer those as well. So on August 3rd of this year, we issued an RFQ for this project's phase 2 engineering services. The responses were due on August 24th, and there are significant improvements that is happening at this intersection that I will go in a minute, as well as a recommendation to replace the northern half of this bridge along 143rd Street that is having significant settlement issues that we're concerned about, and that's part of this effort.
Land bridge, Khurshid. Right?
It's a land bridge that is currently here. So southern half is designed differently and built differently versus the northern half, and that is the cause for that settlement that is happening there. Since this project has federal funding, and the federal guideline requires that anytime we have federal funding, then the consulting services has to be based on quality-based selection only. It restricts us to not even discuss any kind of fees during the QBS process, which is the qualification-based selection process. So in response to our RFQ, we received 10 responses from national and local firms. In your report, you have the criteria that is already established in the QBS process. This QBS process was previously approved by the Village Board as well as Illinois Department of Transportation. Without going into those details, we ranked all 10 firms, and in that ranking, Patrick Engineering was ranked as a top firm, and then we negotiated a fee for that project after that ranking was completed. So this is why we are here, Madam Chair, that we are recommending that Patrick Engineering be awarded the contract for Phase 2 engineering services. I want to quickly identify a few items that are very specific and that the staff looked at and considered that those were the positives for their proposal. In the RFQ, we required that this project be delivered in two sections. One is for the intersection and one for the bridge. The purpose for that was this allows us to divide the project into 2 separate projects, and then we can go after state and federal funding separately to increase our chances for getting fund. This project, construction cost for the entire project is about $9 million, but if we split that, it's about half and half, about $4 million for the intersection and about $4.5 million for the bridge portion. So that's what they'll do, that they'll deliver 2 different packages and they'll submit applications for funding. However, we also have required that they'll submit 1 project for the entire project in case we are lucky and we get funding $9 million in one attempt at some source, so that we can complete that. They also have identified 7 different construction reduction strategies that they will evaluate during the design process for Phase 2. I have also required them that they will be submitting federal and state funding applications for 2 more years after the project is complete, so that we have more of a chance to get our project funded by state or federal funds. And then the last item on that is that they will provide support once this project goes into construction in the Phase 3, as a Phase 3 support. So here what we have is we're requesting that the contract for Patrick Engineering is $875,000, of which $640,000 is available from state and federal grants. And then the remaining $585,000 will be, and then we are also requesting $350,000 for land acquisition to complete the land acquisition portion of it, so that we can have all the needed permanent and temporary easements. That leaves at $585,000 as a village responsibility. So that is my presentation, if there are any questions.
Any questions or comments?
Madam Chairman?
Trustee Healy?
It says in our, I think there's a mention of ROW acquisitions, right-of-way.
Yes.
Is that a company, or why is there a capital A? It's...
That's the abbreviation. That's just...
Oh, right-of-way, but the word acquisitions is capitalized. I thought it was a company or something. We don't pay somebody to acquire the property.
Well, eventually, there is a process for how right-of-way acquisition occurs, but in this case, that capital A should have been a small a.
Okay, thank you. And then there's, what's going to be acquired? Are going to be turning lanes here, or?
So there are pieces of land that we need to acquire all along on the north side. Then there are pieces of land we need to acquire on the radii to improve our turn radii. So one of the things that I did not mention, for example, we're adding a left turn lane going northbound from here. We're also widening this lane over here, so that requires us to take over some private property as a right-of-way acquisition. So overall, on all 4 corners and along this 143rd Street, there are land that we need to acquire to complete the project.
And is it expected that this construction is going to be at the same time as that development, which is just east of here?
Probably not. I think that, as we understand this, you're talking about the residential development.
Right.
The residential development, I think, will be ahead of us, because we have about 2 years to finish Phase 2, and then we'll still have to go after finding the money to build this project.
Okay, thanks, Khurshid.
Madam Chairman,
Trustee
I have a
Radishevsky?
question. You said that in order to fix that, it had the issue had stemmed from it being built differently from one side to the other. I don't know why it was built differently in the first place, or like how are we avoiding that in the future?
So this street used to be IDOT Street, I believe 15 years or so. I don't know exact timeline, but at some point in time, we took over the ownership of this roadway, and at that time, the southern half of this bridge is built what we call is a precast concrete bridge, or land bridge, whereas the northern portion of this bridge is what's called is very lightweight. It's made actually on styrofoam, because the soil underneath is very weak soil, and as a cost-saving strategy at that time, the bridge was built literally on styrofoam, which is a very soft material and floats a little bit more, things like that, which over time, because we know our soil is bad here, that side has been settling. If you go out there, you will see that the curb has almost disappeared. And PW has done a good job of patching that area, but the bridge is still settling. We know that part. How much life is left, that is something that will be determined as part of this Phase 2 also, that should we spend the money immediately, or do we have 10, 20 years left into it?
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Trustee Milani?
Aye.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Trustee Radishevsky?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Katsinas?
Aye.
Belle Tire Plan Development, Authorizing Development Agreement, Ordinance.
Madam Chairwoman,
Trustee Compass?
I move to recommend to the Village Board to pass an ordinance entitled Ordinance Authorizing Development Agreement, Belle Tire, 9500 West 159th Street.
Second.
Questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Milani?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Katsinas?
Aye.
Employee Health Insurance Renewal Fiscal Year 2022.
Madam Chairwoman,
Trustee Radiszewski?
I move to recommend to the Village Board to approve employee health insurance renewal agreements with the recommendation carrier vendors and associated expenses effective January 1st, 2022, and authorize the village manager to execute said agreements subject to village attorney review.
Second.
Any questions or comments?
Madam Chair,
Madam Chair.
I think we have a presentation on this,
I'm
right?
sorry.
If I could, I'd just like to turn this over to the Human Resources Director, Denise Maiolo, who will introduce our guest from Horton.
Thank you. Following the RFP process, the Village Board approved a 5-year agreement for broker services with the Horton Group. Since that time, village staff have worked very diligently with the Horton broker representatives on regular biweekly basis to review and discuss the plans and the renewal process. Tonight we have Mike Wojcik and Tony Evans from the Horton Group who present the highlights for both the health insurance renewal as well as the next item on the liability insurance renewal for fiscal year 2022. Mike?
Thank you. Thanks, Denise, and to the members of the board. Thank you again for allowing Horton to represent and act as your broker consultant for both our employee benefits and commercial business. Just going to give you highlights of probably a packet that you maybe have in front of you, may have received pieces of, to just kind of give you a little bit of history. And as Denise has mentioned, we were able to work quite extensively with your HR team and your administration team on developing this plan and attacking it early, knowing that healthcare was going to be a major issue this year. It's been a very unpredictable and unpriceable program due to a lot of activity through COVID and activities directly related to COVID-19, not necessarily the disease, but activities that didn't take place last year. A lot of people put care on the side, not wishing to expose themselves to doctors' offices or hospitals, and those had a major effect in ultimate trying to calculate the pricing of things, and
You'll have to advance.
challenged here a little bit also on
Mike,
electronics.
Tarika will advance the slides for you.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. I thank you for that. So in front of you, you also have a summary. So in that, so the PowerPoint is basically a copy of that. As your broker consultant, we go out to the marketplace every year. We do an extensive analysis of the benefits that you currently have, and of course, a lot of them by collective bargaining agreements. And then we also all lines of coverage, health insurance, dental, vision, life, et cetera. So what we did, going back to July, we started on this. We did a forecast. I have underwriters on staff that are very accurate in their predictions based on data from the 2 previous years. At that time, the plan was running very, we use the term hot. It was, there were a lot of claims activity taking place. Again, we attributed some of that to the prior year not being done. So we had a lot of claims in the $50,000 category. We only had 2 in the $100,000 category at the time, but our underwriters were saying, hey, the renewal's going to look like it could be about 18%. So with that, we did a lot of marketing, approached a lot of markets, 6 alternative carriers that we went to. Not all quote. We mention this every year. There's an appetite of the market. Some will quote, some will not. They'll look at your carriers, they'll look at your history and say, okay, we're going to pass this year. So we went to 6 different carriers, 3 quoted, 3 declined. We approached 10 alternate stop-loss markets and captive markets, 1 quoted and 9 declined. 3 independent pharmaceutical benefit managers, so companies that would manage your PBM or become your PBM. That's a term that they manage your RX, drugs, and costs. We hit that market heavily. The initial $100,000 stop loss, so that's what we have currently. The village is on risk for $100,000 per member being on a self-funded plan. That came in at 8.79%, so plus $87,000. Bottom line with claims, that was coming in around 8%, and that was much better than what we had projected. We're happy with that, but not satisfied. So after final review and negotiations with what we found in the marketplace, we negotiated fixed costs at a negative 7.31% from the previous year, or a less cost of $72,626. Bottom line, claims factors, including all the other fees and claims, the projection was coming in at 4.77%. Your team asked us to do some further analysis of dental and vision, which we did, and found that Blue Cross was willing to give us further cost savings if we chose to move the 2 plans that we had previously to the Blue Cross programs for dental and vision. That was able to secure an additional $22,000 of savings, plus another $15,000 of projected savings because Blue Cross discounts were that much greater. So we are making one move to the plan this year, and that's moving dental to Blue Cross from Delta Dental, and moving moving vision to Blue Cross from iMed, which coincidentally, Blue Cross uses iMed as their network. So no disruption to the employees. A great move. With that move, we are now down to minus 9.53% in fixed costs, which is great news. And whether you've been seeing this on fully insured plans, we've been seeing 20, 30, and 40% increases this year. So this is really good news to share with you. So a savings on fixed costs next year of $94,694, bottom line of 4.33%. We did another analysis with your group, and that was to look at, currently you take on risk of $100,000. Based on your group size, we've seen that number fluctuate a little bit to a little bit higher, $125,000 possibly. And did that mean that much more savings to you? Well, it actually did in fixed cost, but it's kind of a risk-reward type situation. The fixed cost would have actually decreased by 26%, an improvement of $172,000. But when looking at your claims and your claims today, we've had a lot more activity since July. Our claims have increased quite a bit at the threshold of 50,000 plus, and especially also at 100,000 plus. So people are coming back for care that they may have put off, or they've developed conditions that because they put off care got worse. So in a number of discussions back and forth of does this make sense or not, it was determined that 100,000, the group was more comfortable with that, and we totally agree with that, and especially looking at today's data through September, it purely shows 100,000. Even though we could save some more money, we're going to spend it because claims at 125,000 are going to be there next year. We figured we need 7 claimants to hit that. Today we're at 7 claimants that hit 100,000 as of September 30th. So staying with Blue Cross, staying with the 100,000 is the recommendation. We also checked in that process, Blue Cross has come up with some alternative networks that they're designing to try to help businesses. There's multiple terminology for them. They're basically trying to drive lower cost without sacrificing access and care. So Blue Cross, these are high performance networks is another term for them. They negotiate stronger pricing with certain select providers that have better outcomes, and they create a network Tier 1, Tier 2, out-of-network. We explored those a little bit further, and the disruption of that wasn't perfect and optimal to introduce yet at this time. So we had agreed that this will be a major discussion point this year. We'll probably look at it for introducing next year, but we're going to keep on running those disruption analysis to make sure it's a good fit and then bring them to you. There is a substantial cost savings for going down that road. Again, these are providers, hospitals, doctors that have better outcomes when they see their patients. They're quicker turnarounds. They get back to work sooner. They get back to health sooner. And they also negotiate a lower discount because they could potentially get a bonus. At the end of the day, it's lower cost by a substantial amount. So that's where that's going to go. Next slide. Moving into the ancillary markets. Do we have B or 2 somewhere? Category 2, maybe the slide, another slide before. Ancillary markets, okay. So ancillary markets, that's things like dental and vision and all that. We talked about it a little bit already. Just again, to let you know, we did a pretty extensive market analysis on all of those to come up with our final outcome. Again, moving the dental and vision to Blue Cross for lower pricing for their discounts, $22,000 plus an additional $15,000 in discounts was calculated. Now the next slide would be 3 EAP. Here we go. Another analysis we were asked to do was basically comparing the current EAP program from Metropolitan Family. At the end of the day, the usage of services from that group, although good, were secured better by a company that we use called CuraLink. And it's an 8-session model for folks needing mental health care. $13,740 savings was our recommendation to move this program to CuraLink. And that's the majority of them. We are also installing for the village a portal, benefit portal, that will be up and running for open enrollment, where employees could go on site, enroll, look and see their benefits all year long. It's a great assistance tool for families because we don't always get employee and spouse for open enrollments to communicate these things. And this takes it home a little bit easier. So we're happy to be of assistance with that. Any other comments, George?
And maybe, Denise, if you can just talk about our current processes for open enrollment and how this product from Horton is really going to enhance that process.
Sure, yes. So we're very excited about that portal, about that feature, because it's self-service module that's going to really help us to drive some efficiencies. Currently, and as I have experienced here, it's a paper process. Last year we moved from a voluminous amount of paper to trying to share information electronically through our systems, but we didn't have a portal for that. But we moved some of that information so the summary benefits comparisons were shared electronically, and we did a passive open enrollment, which people had to just go ahead and acknowledge changes in the plan. This year with the portal itself, we'll have everyone get onto the portal. It'll be active enrollment. All of the information will be there, self-service, and as Mike said, employees can access the information at home with their spouses so that they can do a true comparison and see what's going to be the best benefit for them. So we're very excited for that, to reduce the paper waste, improve the efficiency in the process, reduce the errors that could potentially occur from transmitting information, from paper to electronic processes.
Any questions?
Madam Chairwoman.
Trustee Campos?
So with regards to the EAP program, I know personally speaking, it's often, I forget about it for my own personal use. I'm just curious how the village is in terms of utilization compared to others within the market.
Yeah, actually, we did check utilization with Metropolitan. Your plan did allow for many more visits, but they weren't used. So you are maybe a little higher than most, but still I agree with your earlier earlier statement, it's not an often thought of product, and it should be. We're blessed right now with some of the extension of telehealth during the pandemic and the emergency, and there's been a lot of behavioral health, mental health extensions through telehealth, different than Metropolitan Family. People could call their providers directly through a telehealth option, and that was extended. And so that might be a little noisy with what goes on with the EAP, but we still think it's a very needed benefit. It does a lot more than most people give it credit for. We plan on ramping up the communications on that to educate people on it.
Great. And I'm assuming that's all accessible through the portal as well?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Madam Chairwoman.
Trustee Radiszewski.
I have a question also regarding the EAP. So this 8-session model, is this sessions per issue, like per incident, or is it per year?
It is, you know what? I'm stunned at that right now that I can't answer that. I'm sorry.
I understood it to be an 8-session model per incident, so employees have that ability to use it as they need. We found that through utilization, people weren't using it that much, and 8 sessions is across the board kind of the norm. I did want to add, one of the things we're going to be increasing is the amount of the on-sites with some of the service that's provided, as well as opportunity to have some concerted presentations from the EAP service as well to really ramp up the services and make sure that people have that awareness.
Thank you.
And if I can also add to that, Trustee Radiszewski, if we need to go more than 8 sessions, there is a per hour. It's very affordable. So if somebody needs additional help, we don't see that yet, but if someone does, then we can authorize the additional.
Thank you, George.
Madam Chairwoman.
Trustee Reardon.
Mike, something I've seen out in the marketplace is international drug pharmaceuticals. I think you had a slide there. You went to it, and I think you skipped back to it. But I've seen in my private world that there's significant savings, especially for plan participants who are on long-term medication that might be, for the rest of their lives type of thing. And I know some of this might need to be bargained for in the I think it should be brought up in our bargaining with our units. But that's something that, it can be significant savings according to the things that I've read. So that's question number one. And then in a similar vein, have we looked into spousal surcharge type things where if there's a spouse that has full-time employment, again, things that happen in the private world where you're having to sign off and say, I attest that my spouse does not offer, her employment doesn't offer health care, and so therefore we're going to stay on ours. And if they do, there's some sort of surcharge that for people that are choosing to go on our plan opposed to somebody else's. Again, things that might need to be bargained for, I understand, but as long as that's in the conversation that you guys are exploring all those, because they can be, we know the costs aren't getting any cheaper going forward, 3, 5, 7-year projections are astronomical across the board. So
sure, thank you. So yes, Mike is going to talk about the international pharmacy.
I'm sorry,
we had that conversation. No, not a problem. It's great. It's a great option, a great segue to move into that. But let me address the other issue with regard to spousal and those either opt-outs or the ability to have that proven up where you have insurance through another source. We're looking at that as well, probably going into next year, because we do, for those reasons, have to have those conversations with our collective bargaining units.
And that is in addition to the BCO conversation in mid-year, those are a lot of what the conversations we're going to start having because we're going to need time to roll all that out.
Yeah, all great points, and sorry if I missed one or two of those. To the spousal point, just real quickly, and we've discussed that, and we're picking it up again as George mentioned mid-year. Your plan, we've identified, and we talked about this before, has a lot of participation of members. I call them belly buttons, spouses, kids, everybody. And it's not uncommon for municipal businesses to see that. But it does drive to your per capita cost being higher than a manufacturer or than a private sector business. It's a welcome spot for families, and not saying that the intention is to change that, but make it for where it's necessary. who really needs it. So we're having those discussions. The international pharmacy is something that will be introduced in January, and thank you for bringing that up. It is something that's unique. It is voluntary. It is a law still that no group could offer an international pharmacy benefit as a benefit. It could be done as a voluntary benefit. It cannot be done as a mandated benefit. So that puts some challenges to it, but we've been working with a company for several years now, and we are introducing it in the municipal space, where we are getting discounts which your plan, you would get, not your plan, because it's a bolt-on, it's an add-on, voluntary add-on to your plan. So this is a company that imports drugs from Canada, New Zealand, the UK, and Australia. These are 4 countries that have Tier 1 pharmacies that match Tier 1 in our country. So that takes some of the noise out of it. To the member, it's done on a mail order basis, and mail order is pretty common today. I can't really drive up to Canada for it or to Australia, but it's done just as a traditional mail order. The analysis that we did, now we could only place it on the PPO and the HMO programs because the HSA has this little part of the law that says we can't add this there. It would prevent people from putting away money on a pre-tax basis. But just those 2 programs that you have now would potentially gain us savings, gain the village savings of $270,000. And why would I, as a member, do it? Part of the attraction to this is members that get their drugs from the international pharmacy, basically get their drugs at no cost, no deductible, no coinsurance. Your plan pays the cost, and quite honestly, those savings could be as high as 70% on these drugs. And we are now introducing through this pharmacy some specialty drugs. And one of the most commonly used specialty drugs costs about $6,000 a month right now. Through this international pharmacy, it's about $1,500, so about a quarter of the cost. And it's the same drug. It's done on a mail order basis, which quite honestly most specialty drugs are done today that way. So this is something we're excited about to introduce. It's slow to start, quite honestly. It builds on word of mouth. I used it. It was great. It was easy. You know, our job is to communicate how easy it is to participate and take advantage of no cost as opposed to paying a deductible or co-insurance or co-pays and get the same drug on a mail order basis. This group will not, there's a limited number of drugs, and that's what we ran the analysis on. If a drug turns generic, because a generic came out, that drug will come off the international list. The member will go back to the traditional plan and take the generic at a lower cost. So this is, again, some of the strategies that we've been working with the group and reviewing, and that's how we have to introduce to stay even with the game, if you want to call it even, but we're being a little bit ahead of it.
Yeah, just final point on that is you're absolutely right. It's a marketing effort. That's, we did it with my business I'm in and ones we've consulted with, and that you couldn't be more clear that it's Tier 1. It's the exact same standards, the exact same as they require here in the United States in these facilities. And so I think people think, international, they get a little, leery about that. So, Denise, that's your job. George, that's your job, is to, market this that way and answer the questions early on so people aren't, fearful of it, and show them what they can save individually.
And those cost savings potential that I mentioned are not reflected in your, projections that we put out there. They're over and above.
Any other questions or comments?
Madam President, Chairman.
Trustee Healy?
I was wondering if you could just give me your opinion of, in the past couple of years, health insurance costs have been, I'm going to say, higher than inflation.
Always, yeah, for a lot of years.
And in the past year, inflation has, if you measure it by the gas tank in the past year, it's almost doubled. Are they going up as fast in the insurance/medical field too, or is it?
Are the other goods and services going up as much?
Right.
I think they passed it, some of these services, when you take a look at gasoline and everybody's favorite bacon, and those have all gone up at much higher percentages than healthcare. Healthcare trend this year is 9%. That means the cost of goods, the cost of the doctors and hospital services this year to do that same service versus last year is roughly around 9%. Now, that's an increase from last year. Last year was around 6, 7. And potentially you could go higher because there's a lot of challenges in healthcare, a lot of mergers and acquisitions, doctors' offices. There's 70% of doctors' offices today are owned by hospitals or private equity companies. They are disappearing. At the rate they are disappearing, their costs are going up even higher than what I stated because they become a hospital facility or part of a much bigger organization which has more muscles to negotiate higher discounts or higher costs for them, less discounts. So we're seeing healthcare continue to go up, but versus regular inflation, it's an interesting question. Usually it's healthcare is 3 times regular inflation because it was only 3% or 2%. I've got to think that number tipped a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
Great point.
Any other questions? Call the roll, please.
Trustee Rashevsky?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Milani?
Aye.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Abstain.
Mayor Pro Tem Katsinas?
Aye.
Liability insurance renewal fiscal year 2022.
Madam Chairwoman,
Trustee Milani?
move to recommend to the Village Board to approve liability insurance renewal agreements with the recommended carriers and vendors and associated expenses effective January 1, 2022.
Go ahead.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Healy.
George?
Just again, I want to reintroduce Tony Evans. Similar to what we've been doing with the healthcare on the liability side, we've had reoccurring meetings bi-weekly, and I think we've come back with a very good, cost-effective solution for our liability renewal. Tony?
Thanks. And thanks, Mike. I'd like to also thank the people in this room for the opportunity, but the team that we started to get to know, that this whole process started back in late July, and since that time we've had meetings every other Monday morning just to make sure that there are no surprises and just manage expectations. I can tell you, I've been in this business since 1985, and this, without a doubt, has been the hardest, most difficult markets that we've been faced with for the past 35, 40 years. And so that's what we're trying to get through with all of this. So next slide, please. Tarika. One thing, I don't want to go through all of Horton. You know who we are. But both Mike and I helped lead the public sector practice for 25 plus years. And just so you know where we're coming from, we have almost 670 public sector clients in our 5-state footprint. And we have, where does it say number in Illinois? 159. Yeah, 159. So I like to think that our credentials speak very well of our experience in this area. So a couple of important things. Let's keep going here. So I said 1985, it's as hard as it is. Cook County and public entity is unbelievably challenged. It's exponentially higher than than towns, villages, cities in the surrounding counties. Think about what's happened in this country the last several years with flooding, fires, etc. Law enforcement legal liability, the number of lawsuits for civil rights violations is skyrocketing. Sexual misconduct and excess liability is a huge issue, which also goes over the auto. And everything, just like Mike in the healthcare world, is going through exponential increases in rates. Next slide, please. So we went to approximately 40 carriers, and with 40 carriers brings 40 applications, and you think of the amount of information that this entire team was able to assemble in a short period of time. One thing that the village has not been, I don't think, at least in the short term, but there's two very well-performing public entity pools or trusts, and we're recommending two of those. They're quite well known in the area, and we have lots of acronyms in our business, and here's another one. ICRMT, which is an all-lines program, with the exception of workers' comp this year. We're recommending this village go with ICRMT. It's backed by A-rated paper, and it's non-assessable, and it certainly has the best structure that's available in the insurance marketplace right now. The second part, which is a large expense for this village, is your workers' comp exposure. IPRF is one of the true success stories in Illinois. It's one of the few carriers that are able and willing to write police and fire. Obviously, fire is not part of your workers' comp program here, but certainly police is. And aside from cost and coverage, both of these programs have very good loss control, very good access for training, and a number of other member services. Let's go to the next slide, please, Tarika. So just a couple of highlights here as to why we're recommending ICRMT. Their premium out of the gate is about $40,000, and the next best option. The casualty deductible is $50,000 less. There is no TPA fees associated with either of these programs that you've been bearing as part of your insurance program the last number of years. And when I talk about coverage is far more broad, the casualty lines of coverage, auto, public official liability, law enforcement legal, those are all towers, and over each one of those is the $15 million limit. It's not a true umbrella like you have now. And so each of those lines of coverage, you're getting over $15 million in coverage. IPRF, it's a combination of a large retention, which is $500,000. The outgoing carrier, depending if it was law enforcement or someone else, the reduction that you're getting in retentions are $150,000 to $250,000 per claim less than any one of those positions. And it's not a huge number, but they do, IPRF does, they try to incentivize that you do spend money on, it could be canine training, it could be personal protective equipment, it could be anything, but you apply for that, which actually starts in January of this year, and they reimburse you up to $12,000. And I honestly, I looked at this and I don't remember, I don't think you're part of Lexapol now. Is that right? But they will pay 25% of that subscription, which is really a police management and process subscription service. So when I think about in the property casualty world, in terms of my responsibilities, it's really three parts, is protect the residents of this village, protect the employees of this village, and protect the balance sheet of this village. There are a lot of different programs out there, and this village has a high risk tolerance. Your losses are very good, and there's a lot still to be done. We're not going to be sitting in our hands on this. There's a number of initiatives that we're going to be helping you with over the next 12, 18, 24 months. The next slide, please. One of those things is to have our claims advocacy have a little bit more structure around, since you have a large responsibility for these claims, let's stay on top of them. Every quarter, we're going to be spending time reviewing all claims in excess of $20,000. David Lang and I've been working with a long time, and he's one of the senior guys in our public entity practice, and that's who's going to be working with the team going forward. Okay, Tarika, that should do it. I know I went through some of these coverages quickly, but I do want to know if there are any questions. I think most of you have the sheet here, which is obviously too small to put up there, but outlines what the coverage is you have currently, what the renewal was, and how it compares to the combination of IPRF as well as ICRMT.
Madam Chairman?
Trustee Healy.
If you don't mind, a question is there, can I assume that there's an experience rating for our workman's comp policy?
Yeah, the Illinois is part of the NCCI, and every business, including public entities, has an experience rating.
You wouldn't happen to know what our rating is? Or?
Well, to go beyond that, once you're above a certain level, they rate on expected losses, not what your experience has been. And so I can get back to you on that. I don't know what
I just
that
wonder,
is.
And is there a trend for our losses? I would hope they're going down.
Yeah, I mean, certainly frequency. There's two ways that that's calculated. One is frequency, and there's severity. So if you have lots of severe claims, that's the worst case scenario, and I've seen experience ratings as high as 2.5%, 3%. But I would venture to guess that yours would be somewhere around 0.7 to 0.8, so it's a 25, 30% discount.
I think that's.
But once you get above a certain level, you're no longer obligated to report those claims and get a ongoing EMR experience ratings.
But has our experience been going down, or as a result of safety measures, or is it?
I absolutely think it's going down, and just like the health. I mean, think about it. 10 years ago, if you had a rotator cuff surgery, that was a $30,000 loss all in, indemnity and medical expense. Now that would be about a $75,000 loss because of the rising cost of and the length of time that you'd be out. So even though it might not be, it might be the same claim, you're going to be spending more. But I can tell you over a 10-year period, I don't know what the percentage is, but your experience is absolutely improving, especially with the help of the people in this room.
And Trustee Healy, what we have done in the last year, we've created a comprehensive risk management program within the organization. Tarika Ketchum, she oversees that, and the board also approved the contract with Dan Letourneau. So we have really put in a lot of steps on safety, and we want to keep using the resources for Horton. It's a very structured system. There's definitely a lot of work that still needs to be done, but a lot has been done already.
All right, thanks.
Madam Chairman.
Trustee Reardon.
Picking up on that point, all we're doing here in Orland, are we, when you go into these trusts or these co-ops, whatever they're called, they have them for education as well, for school districts and things like that. Do we get a rate based on all these factors and our loss rate, or is it, the 189 or whoever are in there, are we all split up evenly? How do we improve that in terms of showing that we're maybe a little safer than some other villages that might be in the trust?
Well, a couple of ways that you can do that. Obviously, the loss history speaks for itself. The commitment of the senior leadership of this village, and where does risk management rank on that list. But more importantly, insurance it can be good and bad, but it comes up every 12 months, right? And so what are we doing to explain to the marketplace how you're a better risk than you were a year ago, and how are you going to be a better risk a year from now? One of the things that Greg helped put together was a one-pager on your cyber initiatives and what you're doing there to, it's not an if, it's a when, if there is an event, cyber extortion or otherwise, what are you going to, what places are, what's in place now to make sure that that exposure to loss is mitigated?
Yeah, I mean, I get the benefit of, grouping us and no one would probably write our cyber, to be honest with you, if we weren't part of a bigger group. But on a threshold question, we are looked at individually when they set our rates, or are we just, once we jump in as part of the trust, they take all the members and they charge us all the same?
Oh, I get it. I'm sorry. No, you're individually rated, and I should mention too, and the whole group's aware of this, is that you will now have a 12/1 effective date instead of a 1/1 effective date starting next December, and so it would be 3 months ahead of that expiration that you're underwritten and provided a renewal proposal.
And final question, which should be near and dear to everyone at the table here, which one of these categories covers us in case of somebody coming after one of us? Is that just the general public entity package? Is that?
Yeah, the package is really property, general liability, law enforcement legal liability, auto, and public official liability. So your public official liability is akin to directors and officers' liability on the private side.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Madam Chairwoman?
Trustee Radiszewski.
You mentioned that IPRF offers a $12,000 safety grant and will pay 25% off the annual Lexipol subscription. Can you elaborate what a Lexipol subscription entails? What is that?
Yeah, as a public entity in the property casualty side, we're not in a position to train people, officers on, say, a high-speed chase, or in the event of any sort of unusual situation with in dealing with an arrest situation. That's what they do. And so they have guidelines in place. They do the training, and they have monthly newsletters hitting all these issues that we read in the paper each and every day. And that's a subscription service that many of the local police departments utilize. And some of them have resources in-house and some don't, and they look elsewhere for that.
Thank you.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm familiar with the prior organization, the pool that I work with. Several of the members use it. Another thing that Lexipol does offer, it's a policy development. So they create a large organization of policies that are best practices right now in law enforcement. And we had, I know Chief, we had a talk with Chief as well, and I think your department is doing a lot of that, upgrading the policy development, the same thing. So putting risk management first when you deal with law enforcement because of the associated risks. So I think the chief would have to speak on where their policies are, but I believe from what I've seen, they're up there already. So this is a $25 discount off that. But that's one of the main things they do. It's they develop these best practice policies and then share them with departments, because without that, if you go from department to department, there can be a big difference in what policies certain departments may have. So, Chief, I don't know if you want to.
Chief Mitchell, Lexipol is an outstanding program. We are a highly accredited police department already, so our policies, about 1,000 pages of policies, are up to the national standards. However, what we like about Lexipol is they have attorneys on staff that every time there's a new update, new case law that comes through out of the 7th Circuit or out of Cook County or the 1st Appellate Court District, they alert us right away to that thing, rather than I or one of my other officers looking in and again looking at case law considerably. This new Safety T Act, 700 pages, that's a lot of new policies that we have to change and update. And we've got to go back to Kleinthorpe and Jenkins and have them review that. So one thing good about Lexipol does that. We looked at the subscriptions, about $26,000 a year. So we're saving about, $7,000 roughly out the door. So it is a great program. A lot of departments use it. We don't. Unfortunately, we've got somebody on staff that looks at policies considerably, but it is a nice It's a nice tool.
And remember, IPRF, they've been around since the mid-'80s, as I said, and they write communities that have 1,000 residents as opposed to the size and complexity that you have here. And so the resources that you have available for people looking at those policies, as the chief said, is far higher than most.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions, comments? Call the roll, please.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Abstain.
Any non-scheduled citizens or visitors?
Anyone here to speak? Look for a motion to adjourn.
Madam Chairwoman,
Trustee Compass?
I move to adjourn the committee of the whole meeting.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Katsinas?
Aye. We will reconvene at 7:25 for our regular board meeting. Come you in. Call to order. Roll call, please.
Trustee Healy. Here. Trustee Milani.
Here.
Trustee Compass. Here. Trustee Reardon. Here. Trustee Radiszewski.
Here.
Trustee Katsinas.
Here.
Mayor Peacock. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of the October 18th, 2021 regular meeting minutes.
Madam Chairman,
Trustee Reardon.
I move to approve the minutes of the Board of Trustees meeting of October 18th, 2021.
Second.
Any comments or questions? Call the roll, please.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Milani.
Aye.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Katsinas.
Aye.
Proclamation and recognition of National Apprenticeship Week.
Village of Orland Park has a proclamation for National Apprentice Week. The mayor is normally here at this time. However, he had a death in the family over the weekend, had services. Several of his flights were canceled last evening, and he is on the way to the meeting now. Whereas the Village of Orland Park is committed to developing a highly skilled workforce that supports the local economy and local businesses and helps businesses thrive. Whereas the apprenticeships are a strong career path that provide employees with the opportunity to earn a salary while learning the skills necessary to succeed in high demanding careers. And whereas the rising cost of higher education make apprenticeships an increasingly important career pathway leading to economic stability, especially for young adults not immediately pursuing college. And whereas the employees that establish apprenticeships have seen continued business growth, a more diverse workforce, greater productivity, and reduced turnover. And whereas the National Apprenticeship Week is an opportunity to recognize the positive impact apprenticeships have on youths, adult businesses, and the local economy as a whole. Whereas National Apprenticeship Week is celebrating its 7th anniversary of rising awareness of the vital role apprenticeships play in creating highly qualified and highly skilled workforce in diverse industries in Orland Park and across the nation. Whereas the advancement and well-being of the United States of America depends on the continued development of skilled workers in their chosen field. Whereas an ever-growing number of job creators and career seekers are discovering the benefits of apprenticeships' unique learning while you earn model. And whereas the Village of Orland Park recognizes the robust apprenticeships program provides tangible value to both the job creators and apprentices, with the potential to increase productivity, improve diversity and inclusion, and reduce recruitment and training costs while providing a pathway to a prosperous career for job seekers. Now, therefore, I, filling in for Mayor Keith Peacock, Village President of Orland Park, do hereby proclaim November 15th, 2021 through November 21st, 2022 as National Apprenticeship Week in the Village of Orland Park. And we encourage all residents to join in recognizing the importance of involved workforce development through learning and earning programs like apprenticeships to create a more inclusive economy and a brighter future. Adam, if you're here.
And Mayor Pro Tem, this is Adam from Pipe Fitters Local 597, and they have their fantastic training facility in Mokina, right in our backyard. And a number of us had the privilege earlier today of getting a tour of that facility, and it is a very impressive, very clean operation, and it's just, we're very fortunate to have it as our neighbor.
Accounts payable.
Madam Chairman.
Trustee Healy.
I move to approve the accounts payable from October 18th, 2021 through November 1st, 2021 in the amount of $2,068,759.34.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Campos.
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Katsinas.
Aye.
Consent agenda.
Consent agenda A, payroll approval. B, John Humphrey Drive at 143rd Street intersection, Phase 2, final design engineering service consultant recommendation. C, disposal of village equipment, online auction, public works ordinance. D, Belle Tire development petition for special use permit for a planned development special use permit for motor vehicle services, rezoning, site plan, elevation, landscape plan, and plat of subdivision. E, Belle Tire plan development, authorizing development agreement ordinance.
Madam Chairwoman,
Trustee Campos.
I move to approve consent agenda items A through E.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Trustee Campos.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Katsinas.
Aye.
Land Development, 2021 Land Development Code Amendments 2.
Madam Chairwoman.
Trustee Malani.
Move to approve the Land Development Code amendments as fully referenced below, and I move to adopt an ordinance entitled, an ordinance amending Article 3, Decision-Making in Administrative Bodies, Article 5, Development Procedures, Requirements and Regulations, Article 6, Development Regulations, and Article 7, Miscellaneous Provisions of the Village of Orland Park Land Development Code as amendment.
Second.
George, do we have any presentation?
Ed?
Thank you, Madam Chair. These amendments were recommended for approval at the Plan Commission on September 21st and also discussed at the Committee of the Whole on October 4th. There was a series of substantive and changes, including changes to our lot coverage bonus system that makes it easier to calculate, requiring that private maintenance for all residential stormwater facilities moving forward, requiring the screening of pools on corner lots, and the clarification for the outside storage of trucks. One thing to note is some of the changes discussed at the October 4th, specifically requiring the screening of all accessory structures, not just pools on corner lots. That will have to be followed up with a trailer amendment because we didn't publish for all of the sections where that exists at the time it was discussed at the committee. But it will be one of the first changes we make on the next round of amendments. If there's any other questions about the proposed changes, I'd be more than happy to help.
Are there any questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Campos.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Katsinas.
Aye.
Chuck Lager's inducement agreement.
Madam Chairwoman.
Trustee Malani.
Move to approve a sales tax sharing inducement agreement with Chuck Lager's LLC as outlined above pending approval of all village planning, zoning, and building requirements.
Second.
Good evening.
Good.
Little background, so Chuck Lager's America Tavern is seeking to redevelop and occupy the former Granite City site along LaGrange Road. They have requested to participate in the village's backfill vacant restaurant program and commercial impact program to assist with the project. And here to speak a little bit more about Chuck's Lager is Fabio Viviani.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. First of all, I apologize. I'm wearing sweatpants, but I was on a flight. And unlike the mayor, I did not get delayed, luckily, but a long day of traveling for me. I'll make this brief. My name is Fabio Viviani. I'm the founder and CEO of Fabio Viviani Hospitality. You might have known some of our concept downtown, Siena Tavern, Bar Siena, Prime and Provision, and a few other concepts. We are a hospitality development company. We run hotels, event venues, and restaurants of all genre across the United States. I live about 40 miles from here in Barrington, and we are heavily involved and committed in developing our restaurant group and expanding in the suburban area. We have a lot of friends in the area in Orland Park, and we love the geography. So Chuck Lager is one of our fun concepts. It's a concept that takes the tavern casual environment experience and elevate it a little bit, combining well-thought bar food with a fun, upbeat atmosphere. We'll be open for brunch, lunch, and dinner service. The space is big, right? Maybe looking at it, probably a little bit bigger than we need it to be, but we're going to have an event space there. We're going to use it as a training facility because Chuck Lager is a concept that currently we own several locations, and we are planning to expand it further in the suburban area of Chicago. We're very happy to be in the city. Thank you guys for having us, and we look forward to add not only a good workplace to the community, because if things are going the way I hope they will, we will need in excess of probably 80, 90 employed there. So that will be the first step to add many more concepts in the area. And thank you for having us. Thank you for letting me participate in this, the ability of be into this program. And if you have any question for me.
Any questions or comments?
Madam Chairwoman?
Trustee Milani.
Just a quick comment. Thank you for taking advantage of this opportunity. These incentives are great to help build businesses here in Orland Park, and I think you're going to be a welcome addition. You've got a great spot there, so looking forward to trying your food.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Enjoy your night. God bless.
Thank you.
So
Thank you for choosing Orland Park, sir, and thank you for coming to the meeting. We appreciate it. Again, you're going in at the old
Granite City,
Granite City location.
Yep.
And when do you anticipate you would be opening?
That's a great question. I was not ready for it, but so let's put it this way. Assuming that we can find some labor force to be able to build it with our contractor, and we don't have a lot of delays in supplies for equipment and stuff, which we are experiencing right now, as you probably know. We are positive that we should be able to be up and running somewhat middle second quarter 2022.
Excellent.
So if I can get in my way, it will be April. I never get in my way, so it might be a month or so later than that.
Well, we look forward to seeing you at the grand opening.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming.
Of course. God bless you guys.
Thank you for choosing Orland Park. Thank you.
Madam Chairman, if I could just also add,
yes, sir.
Mr. Viviani, in addition to being a hospitality developer, he's also a best-selling author. And in 2008, he appeared on the reality television competition series Top Chef, where he was voted fan favorite.
Yeah, I've done some of that too. Thank you. Guys, enjoy your night. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, George. Call the roll, please.
Trustee Milani?
Aye.
Trustee Rashevsky?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Katsinas?
Aye.
Hashem Restaurant, special use permit, 8600 159th Street, Suite 4B.
Madam Chairwoman,
Trustee Compass.
I move to approve a special use permit for Hashem Restaurant to allow for a restaurant within 300 feet of a residential property in the BIZ General Business District located at 8600 159th Street, Suite 4B, as recommended at the October 19th, 2021 Plan Commission meeting.
Second?
Any questions or comments? Call the roll, please. Oh, I'm sorry. Trustee Compass.
So just a quick follow-up to, I saw in the Plan Commission there were some concerns around the dumpsters that weren't necessarily particular to this upcoming tenant. I'm just wondering, has there been any further communication with the owners regarding that situation?
There has not, but we will be pursuing any necessary changes through code enforcement.
Thank you.
Any others? Call the roll, please.
Trustee Compass. Aye. Trustee Milani. Aye. Trustee Healy. Aye. Trustee Reardon. Aye. Trustee Rashevsky.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Katsinas.
Aye.
Queen of Hearts Ticket Dispenser Placement Agreement.
Madam Chairwoman.
Trustee Reardon.
I move to approve the Queen of Hearts Ticket Dispenser Placement Agreement between the Village of Orland Park and MST Pizza Corporation doing business as Mackey's Public House to place the Queen of Hearts vending machines in the premises and authorize execution of said agreement by the village manager subject to a village attorney review.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Rashevsky. Trustee
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Milani.
Aye.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Katsinas.
Aye.
Employee health insurance renewal fiscal year 2022.
Madam Chairman.
Trustee Radiszewski.
I move to approve employee health insurance renewal agreements with the recommendation carriers, vendors, and associated expenses effective January 1, 2022, and authorize the village manager to execute said agreements subject to village attorney review.
Second.
Any questions or comments on this? Call the roll, please.
Trustee Rashevsky.
Aye.
Trustee Milani.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
I abstain.
Mayor Pro Tem Katsinas.
And reason for abstaining?
Is a business conflict.
Aye.
Liability insurance renewal fiscal year 2022.
Madam Chairwoman.
Trustee Compass.
I move to approve liability insurance renewal agreements with the recommended carriers, vendors, and associated expenses effective January 1st, 2022, and authorize execution of said agreements by the village manager subject to village attorney review.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Milani.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
I abstain due to business conflict.
Trustee Rashevsky.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Katsinas.
Aye.
Non-scheduled citizens and visitors. We've had one request.
One request from Dennis McCarthy. Would remind you that you have 3 minutes to speak. I will give you a warning at 30 seconds.
Good evening, trustees and Orland Park residents. My name is Dennis McCarthy, and I have been a lifelong resident of Orland Park. I'm here tonight looking to introduce the idea of Orland Park allowing its residents to own chickens. Currently unallowed, it is a practice that many other towns allow, and there has never been a better time for us to start allowing it too. After learning a little bit of background info about chickens, I imagine most everyone here tonight will agree that allowing residents to own chickens is a great idea due to both the economical and health benefits they yield. With a current total population of about 25.9 billion, chickens look to become even more common. Female chickens or hens are the type most commonly kept in backyards. With an average lifespan of about 7 years, they will typically lay their first egg at about 18 weeks old, and a total of about 250 to 300 eggs can be expected during the first year of life. After this, egg production typically drops at an average of 10% in comparison to the previous year until around age 7, where it may stop entirely. A common misconception is that they are very noisy. This is simply not true. At their absolute loudest, laying hens reach the same decibel noise level as a normal human conversation. The fresh eggs they lay are great for families, the chickens can be fun to interact with and train, and they make little to no noise at all. Allowing backyard chickens would be economically beneficial to the residents of Orland Park. Due to the events of the last year and a half, many people are out of work, and at the same time, consumer costs continue to rise for virtually everything. The United States Department of Agriculture, in its article, Summary Findings Food Price Outlook 2021, it was projected that by the end of 2021, U.S. egg prices would have increased by 3 to 4%, and poultry prices would have increased between 3.5 and 4.5%. For just 1 year's time, this is a dramatic increase in price. Right now, the average cost of a dozen eggs in the U.S. is $1.84, while the average cost of day-old chicks are anywhere from $2 to $5. A hen can easily produce more than 1,400 eggs in a lifetime, or $214 worth if the current average market price of a dozen eggs stayed the same and did not increase. Instead, you could get all those eggs from a hen you purchased for less than $5. Not only are having backyard chickens economical for the people that own them, but it can also be economical for Orland Park as a community. A recent study by the American Pet Producers Association estimates that about 10 million U.S. households, not people, households, own chickens. This is 10 million households that, if moving, would immediately cross Orland Park off the list. Allowing backyard chickens would bring fresh eggs to families daily, as well as attract more families looking to live here. There are numerous health benefits from consuming the eggs as well, from physically having chickens. By getting eggs from your own chickens, you would A, know exactly where your eggs are coming from, as well as the condition of the chickens producing them, and you would B, avoid supporting industrial farms that sell eggs from factory farm hens that are often kept in such close and inhumane quarters that they are unable to stretch their legs or wings, walk around, or socially interact with other chickens. Mother Earth News reported that backyard eggs have approximately 25% more vitamin E, 75% more beta-carotene, and as much as 20 times the amount of omega-3 fatty acids as do factory farmed eggs. All of these are incredibly important in our diets. Unlike your dog waste, which has to be picked up with a plastic bag and disposed of, and yeah, I have 2 of them, so I know, chicken waste can be used as a high nitrogen fertilizer, or it can be combined with yard waste to create compost. Not to mention 40% of chicken manure is organic matter necessary for creating healthy topsoil. However, some people point to the owning of chickens and claim that it is unsafe, unsanitary, and attracts predators, pests, and rodents. While you would all be correct in saying chickens poop, I would be quick to remind you that so do our dogs. This may sound funny, but on average, a 40-pound dog excretes 0.75 pounds of feces per day, while 10 chickens create 0.66 pounds of feces per day.
I'm sorry, your time's up. Thank you.
Board comments.
Trustee Radishevsky.
Oh. I actually have a question for him. Thank you. Thank you very much for that, too. I appreciate your comments and bringing it to our attention and consideration. Board comments. So I wanted to mention that November is National Family Caregivers Month. And why is that important? Probably because I am a caregiver, so I understand how it impacts, people, kind of part of the sandwich generation where people are taking care of older, aging parents as well as children. COVID-19, obviously with the pandemic and restrictions and, schools and everybody being at home really put a lot on families and, to take care of one another. And so it's just a good time to, just say thank you for all, to all the caregivers out there for what you do. And, just to kind of think about the caregivers in your family and if they need some support, just to lend a hand. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Trustee Healy.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. And I'd like to make a comment that there's certain times when that you are definitely Irish. That's when you can't forget your grudges. And over the last year and a half, I've been out of my mind angry about the Cook County, how it handled the CARES Act money given to local communities. Congress in Washington, D.C. argued, and they finally came up with every city across, instead of a PPP loan or all these other stimulus things, they gave every village and town across the country $167 per capita, per person. That would have been $9.5 million for our village, which we could always use that to help pay for a bridge or whatever. And unfortunately, our money was routed through Cook County, which took 95% of the money, and we were left with $500,000, which is great, but not $9.5 million. Well, and I had put this behind me, but then over the weekend I came across the Cook County of Illinois financial statement. I don't think anybody else here has looked at that financial statement this weekend, but in there they have their financial highlight, and their financial highlight states for fiscal year 2020 is that they turned a
Time's up.
Hands up, Bill.
No, go right ahead, Bill, I'm sorry.
Is that the county commissioner calling?
You're getting the good stuff.
Cut me off. There were two things that are stunning about this. First of all, their preliminary operating budget, they budgeted a deficit that they were going to lose $102 million. This is their normal way of operating. It's amazing. But the second thing is that they turned that from 102 loss to 124 profit simply because of taking money from villages like Orland Park, all this outlying suburban communities, and they took it and kept it for themselves. And imagine that, Cook County had $124 million surplus. Even they couldn't spend all the money, which is amazing. So I would just, I still object to how this was treated. We took a survey a short survey of communities our same size around the country, and we were the lowest of all of them. Places like in Arizona, they had $138 per person ended up in their coffers, versus ours was like $8 per person or whatever. So anyway, just seeing this financial statement, looking at that was the highlight of their thing, how they turned a loss to a profit. Just again, makes me want to thank God I don't drink that much. It just drives me nuts. So thanks. That's all.
Thank you. Trustee Rudin.
Hope everyone had a nice Halloween. I think Halloween, if you have kids, it all, rises and falls with the weather. And it was a nice day, so the kids were able to get out. And those days when it's raining and it's windy and you can't get out there, so it was nice to have a nice Halloween. I think before we meet again, we'll have Veterans Day activities. So remember, they're on the 11th, that Thursday. There's going to be a number of activities. I think it's been promoted through social media, so take a look at that and please join us where you can. It's been a difficult couple of weeks for our police department. They've had a lot of, what seemingly are more serious events that are going on. I don't think they're doing a great job, but the things that they have to deal with become more serious. They're dangerous, and so when we get, it hits home when we see some of these updates that they have to deal with. So we appreciate what they're doing out there. We know it's not easy. The holiday season's coming along, so I'm sure there'll be more opportunists out there. We appreciate their diligence in keeping us safe. And the last thing is, on Thursday of last week, I had the honor to attend the Special Recreation Department's annual banquet. And it was one of the best things I've done. I've been here about 6-7 months. It was probably the best event I've been to in a number of different ways. Nick Harvey specifically raised, and his team, what they put on for these families and for these athletes was just incredible. Not only what they did all year to keep these activities going for these athletes, through COVID and through all the restrictions and the changing. And if you know, or if you have family members who have special needs, you know that changes in their lives or their daily routine can be very difficult. And so what they were able to do with these athletes and how much fun they had and the participation of all the various programs, and the parents, I talked to a number of them. Orland Park is a shining light for those programs. A lot of these people, they'll pay extra to come to the Orland Park programs for special rec. So it was just a very humbling experience. Keith and I, Mayor Picard and I, were able to participate, hand out some awards, and visit with a number of the attendees, and it was very special. So thank you for all the hard work you guys have. Thanks.
Trustee Campos.
So this Thursday, I'll be celebrating my 46th lap around the sun, and that combined with Thanksgiving always makes me feel a little bit more reflective on the blessings that I have in life and not to dwell on the challenges. So to the residents of Orland Park that put their trust in us to keep the village moving in the right direction, I just want to say thank you for allowing me the opportunity to serve this year. To the business owners, both current and hopefully soon to be new, as we're seeing some new restaurants come into our community, thank you for keeping Orland Park a great place to work, dine, and play. And to the village staff, thank you for your hard work in making 2021 a successful and great year for the village, despite many external challenges that we faced. You've helped to make the first 6 months of my tenure here a pleasure. Thank you.
Trustee Milani.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. I had the opportunity to actually go to the Local 597 facility today to talk about their apprenticeship program and the value that they provide. And if you haven't been there, and you can head over there, it's amazing. The amount of education that these people go through, the amount of facilities and resources that they have to learn their trades and to become successful and contribute to our society humanity is an absolutely amazing point of view, and really changes your opinion of, a lot of people think that, oh, you just join the union, you go in there, you do your job, and you retire with a nice pension. Well, they have a different point of view there. You need to prove that you're successful to get the education, and they want you to work hard, and they want you to learn your trade and to come out and be successful. And that's a great approach, and I hope that as we look at our in our careers, that we take that same approach. We want to go out there, we want to work hard for what we do. And, I feel up here as a board, we work hard to give Orland Park what they need. And, as we see tonight, we have several different restaurants coming in. We got Chuck Lager and Hashem Restaurant coming. We've got Belle Tire coming. All of them, coming to Orland Park, where a lot of businesses don't even want to open right now because we're still going through a pandemic. So that really shows the growth here in Orland Park. Also, I'd like to remind everybody about our Veterans Day ceremony. It'll be Thursday at 11 a.m. at the Civic Center, and we'll be honoring all of the veterans that have served our country, as well as the 6 newly engraved veterans' names that have been added to our Apache Veterans Memorial just in this November. This year, we've added 61 names in total, which is, quite a few. So thank you to everyone that has supported this great memorial, for your friends and your loved ones, and getting their names added. And thank you to all of our veterans that have served our great country. Thank you.
Dennis McCarthy, I want to thank you for coming to the village board meeting and bringing your group here and talking about chickens. I know a lot of people are interested in that, and perhaps we could have a chat right after this, just for a few minutes. To comment also on Trustee Reardon's comments, we are privy to getting information that goes on in Orland Park from our police department. And just to echo what he said, what these patrol officers, men and women on the street, are facing, it's a really scary time. And I've never been more proud of our police department. So if residents see Orland Park police officers on the street, please thank them. Half the stuff they do, you don't even know what they do. The good and the bad of this is that you get to hear the bad, and it's really something. So I just want to say thank you, Chief, and I hope at the next roll call you will reiterate the board's support and thanking them under some very challenging times we're in. So thank you for that. Also, in regards to our Veterans Day ceremony, it will be Thursday, November 11th at 11 a.m. and it will be held inside the Civic Center. So I think that's really important because some bad weather sometimes turns people away. So please consider coming to it to show your support for our Orland Park veterans. There are 6 newly added names, as Mike said, or as Trustee Milani said, in addition to the 61 we already have. So if we can show our support to our veterans, that means a lot to the families that are there. I know a lot of folks like to listen to it, but really important to attend, that they really feel appreciated. So I'd encourage everyone to do so. On that, I think we're going to be going to executive session.
Madam Chairwoman.
Trustee Compass.
I move to go into executive session for A, approval of minutes, B, the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performances, or dismissal of specific village employees, C, pending litigation against, affecting, or on behalf of the village, or when found by the board that such action is probable or imminent.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Milani.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Rashevsky.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Katsinas.
Aye.